So let's get into it. So let's talk about the basic message that opens up doors and like why we want to say certain things. And let's dig into this a little bit. So first, let me hit like virtual pause for a minute on just running through this information. And let me ask a question. It's so for you, if somebody called you today and asked you, said, hey, I like to buy companies. What are the things, maybe just make a mental note and jot them down on a pad. What are the things for you personally that you would need to hear to take the next step? Maybe it's take a meeting. Maybe it's get on another phone call. Maybe it's send some information. But what is that? I'm pausing because I want you to write that down. And I want to engage your mind a little bit, because I think that once you put yourself in the shoes of a seller, you'll understand why they need to hear these things at a deeper level, and this will stick a little bit more. And you kind of understand why I've put these things up on this page and recommended that you look at these. So, okay, take a look at this. The basic message that I tell every single seller that I talk to is the same. And it's because this is what has worked for me. And I have gotten really lucky is that I kind of nailed this one right out of the gate. So it was a little bit intuitive, but you be the judge. Here's what I'm recommending you say. The number one thing is, whenever somebody gets into a deal like this, closing is pretty complicated. If somebody has not gone through the process of buying a business, running a business, getting all the financing lined up, making sure that the attorneys are under control and working together towards a common goal of getting the deal closed, there's all sorts of crap that happens that can blow up a deal and waste everybody's time. And the emotions can run high. There's just all sorts of stuff. So one thing that helps people to hear is that, hey, I do this all the time. This is not a big deal. And so I want them to know that. And the second thing that's really, really important is, hey, have you been in my shoes? Is this somebody else's money? Are you playing with funny money out there like those private equity guys? Because Wall Street's gotten a bad rap. And like a lot of small time manufacturers view Wall Street as kind of like evil, which kind of there's an argument that maybe they are. So I want to look like I'm a great deal guy, that I've got all those skill sets that come with Wall Street people, but I brought Main Street to it, right? I understand their position as somebody who has run a business, and I've got my own money in this thing at the end of the day. Whenever you say that I put my own money in this, they realize that you're taking risk. And so whenever you negotiate, it's about making sure that you don't make a stupid decision. And this is the conversation that I have with every single seller that I talk to. It's, hey, this is my own money, and I've got people who are behind me that their money's on the line. And so I definitely don't want to lose my money, but losing their money would like make my heart hurt so bad that like I'm pretty disciplined about pricing. And I kind of grew up in this kind of Warren Buffett, buy good businesses at fair values sort of school. That's how I was raised. Whenever they hear that, they understand that whenever you give them a price, it's just what you think it's worth. And that's the philosophy that you got to follow. And if it doesn't work out, it's, I'm sorry, the math didn't work. But they also understand that you're a professional who does this all the time. So I have a whole kind of spiel that I get into whenever we really start talking with the sellers. But at the end of the day, it's about letting them know that, hey, it's my money that I'm putting on the line here. And so I understand the position that you're in. Is you risked your butt, start, building up this business, and you want to get a good harvest out of it to get the value out of all your hard work. And so I get it. That makes a difference. The other piece is, if you're in a small town especially, but almost every business owner cares about this, whenever employees find out that somebody's selling, it creates a lot of fear and it can cause turnover. It can just cause general drama. They don't want that. And so they want to know that, hey, I'm discreet. I'm not going to put this in the newspaper. I'm not going to create more problems for you. If they get the sense that this is going to be a problem because you can't keep your mouth shut, or you don't know how to navigate, this whole dance and doing the due diligence, so that employees don't get, tipped off about it until the right time, it's going to be hard for you to move forward. So that's a big one. I'm discreet. I know how to keep my mouth shut. The other piece is, if you're a seller, you want to know that you're not going to waste a bunch of time. This goes back to don't cause me more problems. So they're usually busy. And you want to assure them that you've got everything covered on the money side. So we'll kind of get into this here in a minute, but having a way to describe where your money comes from is key. Even if you're hustling, you got very little money, you're gonna have to scrape some stuff together kind of while we're going to closing. You can still position yourself so that there's confidence there that you'll be able to close. The other piece is, if it's not a fit, I won't waste your time. I won't drag this out. I'm the main decision maker. So if I like this, I'm going to move forward. If I don't like this, we won't move forward. But I'm a quick no, which is almost as good as a yes. So I always try to communicate that and make it no pressure for them to walk away, because then it makes it easier for them to open up. And then the other thing that I try to communicate, and this is just a general principle that helps them to understand, that I have not picked out your business as like the golden goose that I've got to have because you have this special sauce, and it's key to my whole strategy, right? Like that puts you in a weak negotiating position. It gives them leverage. So what you want them to know is, hey, I found your name on a list. I did some research. It sounds like you guys might be a fit. Obviously, I don't have all the information that I need to make a decision. That would be up to you to share. But if you felt comfortable sharing with it, I can go through it and tell you if this makes sense or not. But they need to know that you don't know that you don't need them. You're interested. Hey, this looks interesting. Let's investigate this. So that's key, just for the negotiation. Anytime that somebody gets a sniff that you need them, you will end up paying for it. It will always come out, because sellers cannot help themselves. They cannot help themselves. This is the thing that you got to understand, is place yourself in the shoes of somebody who has been working for 20 years at the same company, and they've been dreaming of the day whenever they get to sell this thing. And they think that, it's worth $1 gazillion, and it's really worth like not that much. It's or less than $1 gazillion. So they have all these hopes and dreams and all these emotions that are tied up in this. And if they sense that there was a moment in their life where they probably had the fantasy of, Google learning about them and saying, hey, I got to have this special widget that you make. And so we're going to buy you for $1 billion. You want to stay so far away from that kind of narrative and fantasy, that it never becomes an option for them. Like, it never enters into their thinking. It needs to be super grounded, and it needs to be, this whole, I think it's really useful to talk about the way that you value companies and the way that, you think about businesses and like just kind of I typically tell them I buy companies at, anywhere from 3 to 5 times cash flow. Sometimes we pay more than that if there's something really special to it, or they're growing really fast. So we want to get away from the idea that we're a technology company or like a big money Wall Street firm that can throw like huge dollars around. We're just, you know, good old boys from Arkansas who have put together some investors and want to buy good businesses and think that they might have a good business. Okay, so finally, this is the last piece of this. This is language that is intentionally crafted. So, you know, pay attention to these words, these specific words. And I'll tell you why this matters is I would love to learn if you're open-minded about selling, or an alternative that is, I would love to learn if you're open-minded about us working through a succession plan. So the succession plan piece is a big one. And this is how the last big deal that we closed, this is exactly the words that I used whenever we were at dinner and trying to close these folks on getting them to move forward, is we wanted them to realize this is about succession. If they don't have that in place, how long will the business last? Can you count on the cash flow of this business if you don't have good leadership in place? You don't have a plan in place? Big deal, right? So we wanted to dig into that and make sure that they're aware that, hey, they really do not have a lot of options, and they do not have anybody else knocking on their door to buy the company. And so that's why we use this language. And all it does is invite a tiny little next step. The tiny little, very low cost next step is what we're aiming for. If we can get the next step and then get them qualified, basically it's on us. We don't want them to disqualify us. We want to disqualify them. Typically, I'll say that, maybe famous last words, but I like being in the control of who's doing the disqualification. So those are the main messages that we're trying to get across. And if we get them across the right way, what you get is like, hey, come check out my financials. Come take a look at the plant, or come look at my office. Come meet a key person who kind of knows that I might be thinking about this. It opens up the doors to having the real key conversation where you can do some real discovery and find out what's the succession plan, who's going to be there to take over this thing. Do you have a good management in place? Is everything kind of falling apart? Do you need marketing help? Do you need operations help? Do you need financial help? You start to learn all that, and then that gives you the power to make a deal once you kind of get into that step. So that's the basic message that opens the doors.